Welcome to Shadow Files, where we don't just talk about conspiracies, we uncover the hidden layers beneath everyday life that most people never notice. Have you ever sensed that the world around you is controlled by unseen forces? That small details from what you eat to how you feel might be part of larger quiet conspiracies shaping your reality without your knowledge? Today, we'll explore some of these fascinating conspiracies, mysterious influences behind the food you consume, emotional control hidden within theme parks, and the silent role of artificial intelligence in shaping your thoughts and fears. These stories may sound unbelievable, but they reveal deeper truths about the subtle ways our choices and perceptions are manipulated every day. Are we really free, or just players in a carefully crafted game? Stay with me until the end, because behind every conspiracy lies a powerful question: who holds the real control and how can we break free? Let's dive in. If you've ever stumbled upon the strange and eerie conspiracy theory about KFC serving human meat, you're not alone. It's one of those unsettling rumors that, despite lacking any real evidence, continues to haunt popular culture. The theory claims that, at some point, KFC used human meat in their dishes, rather than the chicken we all know and love. At first glance, this might sound absurd, perhaps even laughable, but there's something about it that makes us pause. So, where did this idea come from? And why does it still have a grip on people's imaginations? The origins of the KFC cannibalism theory are tangled with a mix of strange advertisements, cryptic marketing, and viral rumors. It all began with odd, ambiguous commercials that left people questioning the company's true intentions. Some of these ads, which featured unusual imagery or mysterious figures, led people to speculate about the ingredients KFC was using. But it wasn't just the ads. Over time, some customers began sharing stories online about the peculiar texture of the meat they had encountered at KFC. These stories, though unsubstantiated, spread quickly and helped to fuel the theory. The most unsettling part of this conspiracy is not the lack of evidence, but rather the chilling thought that corporations might do anything to cut costs, even to the point of sacrificing ethics. The idea that a fast food giant could secretly serve human meat strikes a nerve, and that's part of the theory's lingering power. But why do people latch on to such outlandish theories, especially when there's no solid proof to understand this? We need to look at human psychology. As people, we're naturally inclined to distrust large organizations, especially when those organizations control something as intimate as what we eat. Conspiracy theories like this one exploit that fear, preying on our anxieties about corporate greed and the lengths companies will go to maintain their profits. It's the same kind of distrust that fuels other theories about corporate cover-ups or hidden agendas. And, in today's digital age, these theories spread faster than ever. The internet provides an echo chamber where rumors and speculations can grow into fully fledged truths. Once a theory like this gets enough attention, it takes on a life of its own. Despite lacking any real evidence, the role of media, too, cannot be overlooked, even though KFC likely never intended for this rumor to spread. The nature of modern advertising can inadvertently contribute to these kinds of stories. Some of KFC's past advertisements, with their vague and mysterious messages, may have seemed suggestive to some, sparking curiosity and suspicion. When combined with the occasional misstep or strange coincidence, it's easy to see how people's imaginations can run wild. And, of course, media outlets looking for something sensational to report are quick to jump on these theories, giving them even more exposure. So, why do people continue to believe in these bizarre claims, even when the facts point in a completely different direction? The answer lies in the human need for a narrative. We're wired to search for meaning, even in the most unlikely of places. Conspiracy theories offer us a way to make sense of the world, to feel like we're uncovering hidden truths that others are too blind to see. The more outlandish the theory, the more thrilling it becomes, especially when it involves something as shocking as cannibalism. It taps into our deepest fears and plays on the idea that there's always something darker lurking beneath the surface of everyday life. At the end of the day, the KFC cannibalism theory remains just that, a theory. With no concrete evidence to support it, KFC serves chicken, and it always has. But this conspiracy serves as a powerful reminder of how easily rumors and suspicions can take hold. It's a reflection of our collective anxieties, our distrust of authority, and our desire to believe that we're in control of the world around us. So, the next time you hear a wild theory circulating online, take a moment to question its origins and ask yourself why it resonates with you. Is it based on fact? Or is it just another story that speaks to the darker side of human curiosity? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your take on this bizarre theory. Have you ever wondered what's really behind those limited-time drinks? Like Taco Bell's Baja Midnight. At first glance, it might seem like just another quirky, temporary menu item designed to entice us. But there's a theory floating around that this drink could be more than just a new flavor. It could be a mind control experiment. It might sound like the plot of a sci-fi movie, but it taps into something real, the potential for food and drink to influence our behavior. Some speculate that Taco Bell's Baja Midnight is no ordinary drink. There's a theory suggesting that hidden within its mysterious flavor and deep midnight color, there could be an ingredient designed to subtly alter our moods or thoughts. Something more than just flavor. Perhaps even something that influences how we feel, how we crave, and how we consume. Now, why would anyone even consider this idea? Well, over the years, we've seen a growing body of research into how chemicals in our food, artificial flavorings, colorings, and preservatives can affect our minds and emotions. So, why couldn't the Baja Midnight drink tap into this very principle? Could its bright, almost hypnotic color and bold flavor combinations be subtly crafted to trigger a response in our brains? It's not a far-fetched concept when you think about how carefully brands like Taco Bell design their products to affect not just your taste buds, but your emotional state as well. The mix of colors and flavors in Baja Midnight could be playing on the psychology of attraction, tapping into those same chemicals that make us feel a certain way when we indulge in something new and exciting. And that's where the mind control angle comes in. In a world where food is marketed as an experience, Taco Bell has mastered the art of creating an aura of mystery and urgency around its limited time items. By calling it Baja Midnight, it adds an element of exclusivity, a you've got to try it before it's gone urgency. This taps directly into our human psychology, the fear of missing out, the craving for novelty. These marketing tactics are not accidental. They're crafted to make us feel like we need this experience, to make us crave it before it disappears. But beyond the mind control theory, what's really at play here is the power of food marketing. Taco Bell, and many other companies, understand how to stir up emotions through their advertising. They know that once they create this buzz, we're not just buying a drink, we're buying into an experience. It's this psychological pull, combined with the mystery and limited availability, that makes products like Baja Midnight so irresistible. And when you think about it, this is the true power of the beverage, not the taste, but how it makes us feel curious, excited, and maybe even a little obsessed. So, next time you sip on a Baja Midnight, ask yourself, is it really just the flavor that's got you hooked? Or is there something deeper at play? Food and drink have always been about more than just nourishment. They've been about connection, emotion, and now, possibly even mind manipulation. In a world where marketing is king, Taco Bell has found the perfect recipe to grab our attention and leave us wanting more. Whether you believe in the conspiracy or not, one thing is clear: Taco Bell has mastered the art of making us feel something deep inside. And perhaps that's the true secret ingredient behind the Baja Midnight. What if I told you that McDonald's could be tracking your face? No, this isn't science fiction. It's a conspiracy theory that's been gaining traction. Allegedly, McDonald's has been using facial recognition technology to track customers' behaviors, preferences, and even influence their purchasing decisions. But could this really be happening? Or is it just paranoia? Let's dive into this theory and see if there's any truth to it. At the core of this theory is the idea that McDonald's, like many companies, might be using cameras inside its stores to scan faces. By doing this, they could gather data about customers' emotions, demographics, and habits. Some reports suggest that McDonald's, particularly in places like China, has tested AI systems capable of recognizing faces to offer personalized suggestions or discounts. While McDonald's denies using facial recognition in this way, their experiments with AI-powered technology to enhance customer service could still be tied to similar outcomes, such as offering special deals based on past purchases. Facial recognition technology is essentially a system that identifies or verifies someone's identity based on their face, which could be used in fast food chains to track how people interact with menu items. For instance, if a customer smiles, the system might suggest a dessert. If someone looks undecided, it could recommend something new. These small, seemingly harmless interactions could significantly impact customer experience and purchasing behavior, all driven by unseen algorithms working in the background. However, as appealing as this technology might seem, it comes with ethical concerns that can't be ignored. Privacy becomes a major issue if these systems are collecting data without clear, informed consent from customers. How much of our personal information is being captured without us even realizing it? Beyond privacy, we have to ask whether we're becoming too comfortable with surveillance. The idea that we are being constantly watched and analyzed could make us feel like we're living in a world where our every move is being recorded. And then there's the bigger question: how far are we willing to go for the sake of convenience? Technologies like facial recognition can make our lives easier, sure, but at what cost? Are we giving up too much of our privacy just to get faster service or personalized offers? These are questions we need to think about as technology continues to seep into our everyday lives. So, is McDonald's really using facial recognition? Maybe, maybe not. But what's clear is that the conversation about surveillance, privacy, and how our data is used is becoming more important than ever. We need to stay informed and decide where we draw the line between convenience and privacy invasion. How do you feel about facial recognition in public spaces like fast food restaurants? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. In today's world, where consumer culture and technology seem to control so much of our lives, we often feel overwhelmed by the forces that shape our reality. Conspiracy theories, especially those surrounding fast food chains and their alleged hidden manipulations, reflect a deeper longing in all of us, the desire for control and understanding in a world that feels increasingly out of our hands. It can feel as if everything is dictated by unseen powers, from the food we eat to the technology that watches us. But in these moments of confusion and powerlessness, we are reminded that as Christians, we are never truly alone. God, in His infinite wisdom and love, is always with us, guiding us through the noise and offering us peace. While philosophers like Socrates and Nietzsche challenged us to question the world around us, the teachings of Christ offer us a different path, one that leads us to truth and peace through faith. Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." But Jesus Christ calls us to seek truth through Him. In John 14:6, He says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Oh, unlike the endless search for hidden truths that can often lead to confusion, Christ's truth is simple, clear, and brings peace to those who embrace it. Through Him, we learn to trust that God's plan for our lives is greater than anything we could ever understand. While Buddhism teaches that attachment to the material world and its illusions causes suffering, Christianity teaches us the same lesson: we are not meant to cling to worry or control. In Matthew 6:25-34, Jesus tells us not to worry about our needs, because your Heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. This message reminds us to place our trust in God, knowing that He will provide, and to release our desire to control everything. The more we surrender to God's will, the more peace we find, free from the burden of constantly trying to understand the world on our own terms. Psychology tells us that when faced with discomfort from conflicting beliefs, our minds seek relief through alternative explanations. Conspiracy theories often provide this relief, offering simple answers to complex problems. But as Christians, we know that our peace comes from a deeper source: God's perfect love. 1 John 4:18 reminds us that there is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear. When we look to God, we see the world through His eyes, no longer driven by fear or anxiety, but by His grace and wisdom, true peace and liberation. Then, are not found in external answers or in the endless pursuit of hidden truths. They are found in letting go of our need to control, our attachment to worldly narratives, and our obsession with finding meaning in the unknown. Through Christ, we discover that peace is a gift from God, not something to be grasped or controlled. Philippians 4:7 promises, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." It is in surrendering to God's will, trusting in His perfect plan, and embracing His love that we find true freedom, forgiveness, compassion, and unconditional love are central to both Christianity and Buddhism. These virtues, when nurtured within us, allow us to break free from the chains of resentment and fear. As we cultivate them, we begin to see beyond the illusions that bind us, discovering a freedom and peace that are not dictated by the world, but by the love and wisdom of God. Through this journey, we learn to not only question the world around us, but to question ourselves and our own perceptions, ultimately finding the true path to peace and liberation in Christ. The more we trust in Him and surrender to His will, the more we discover that true freedom comes not from understanding everything, but from resting in His love and guidance. Maybe you've laughed, maybe you've questioned, or maybe you've sat in quiet reflection, feeling a strange familiarity in the mysteries we've explored. But beneath all these stories, whether it's a burrito portion that feels oddly small, a drink with a strange name, or a camera that seems to watch too closely, there is something deeper that connects us. Our longing to understand a world that often feels hidden from us. We chase these conspiracies not because we're foolish, but because we sense, deep down, that something isn't quite right, and that discomfort leads us to search, to ask, to awaken. The Bible tells us, with much wisdom comes much sorrow, and yet it is through sorrow that the heart opens. In Buddhism, we learn that clinging to illusions, whether comfort, control, or certainty, only deepens our suffering. But when we release the need to know everything, to decode every shadow, we begin to find peace not in answers, but in presence. The philosopher Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And that, perhaps, is the real conspiracy: how often we allow unseen forces, both outside and within, to shape our choices without ever realizing it. But here's the truth that cuts through all the noise: you are not powerless. Whether it's marketing tricks or the quiet manipulation of technology, you still hold the power to choose how you respond. And that power grows not from fear or suspicion, but from clarity, compassion, and trust. Trust not in corporations or systems, but in something higher, in the quiet wisdom of God, in the stillness that Buddhist practice reveals, in the courage to live with eyes wide open and a heart that remains soft. So tonight, as we close this chapter, I invite you to release the weight of needing all the answers. Let curiosity live beside peace. Let questions deepen your faith. And when the world feels heavy, remember, true freedom doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from being present, being aware, and being kind. Thank you for walking through the shadows with me. If something stirred within you tonight, I'd love to hear it. Share your thoughts below. And if you want more journeys into the mysterious and meaningful, subscribe and stay connected. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, not all secrets are meant to be solved. Some are meant to awaken you. Let's dive into the world of the extraterrestrial alien encounter ride, a terrifying attraction that once stood at Disney World. Where guests found themselves face to face with a menacing alien, the experience was designed to push you to the edge of fear, with sensory effects that made it feel as though the alien's breath was on your neck and its blood-curdling screams echoed in your ears. For many, it wasn't just a ride, it was an encounter with pure terror. So why would Disney create something so unnerving? Why would they design an experience that triggered such raw panic in both children and adults? Some suggest it wasn't just for thrills. It was an experiment, a test to see how fear can shape us. Perhaps it was a form of emotional conditioning, designed to make us associate the unknown with dread, to teach us to fear things we don't understand. The alien, with its grotesque features and unpredictable movements, became the perfect symbol of the other, of everything foreign and strange. And in that moment, we were taught to be afraid of it, to fear the very unknown it represented. But could this idea of manufactured fear be a reflection of the world outside? Could this be a tactic to control and shape the way we view threats, both real and imagined? Just as the ride manipulated our emotions, fear itself can be used to control populations, to maintain order by keeping people in a state of uncertainty and anxiety. When fear is present, it's harder to question, harder to think critically, and easier to fall in line. Perhaps the alien encounter wasn't just about the fear of a fictional alien, but a much larger question about the way fear operates in our lives, how it controls our actions, our thoughts, and our worldviews. What do you think? Have you ever felt that kind of fear in your own life? One that leaves you feeling unsure, manipulated, or even controlled? It's something to reflect on, isn't it? As we step into the enchanting world of theme parks, we often find ourselves captivated by the thrill of rides and the awe-inspiring visuals around us. But have you ever paused to wonder what lies beneath the surface of these immersive experiences? Look closely at the subtle details: the clocks ticking backward, the animatronics with their lifeless eyes, or the celebrity masks that feel just a little too real. These aren't just artistic choices, they hold deeper significance. Could it be that these elements are part of a larger, more intricate narrative? Perhaps a form of predictive programming? What if these rides are subtly preparing us for a future where identity is fluid, manipulated, or controlled? It may sound like an over-the-top idea, but as you reflect on it, it starts to make a strange kind of sense. Consider the concept of the uncanny valley, that unsettling feeling we get when something appears almost human, but not quite. Theme parks, with their hyper-realistic animatronics, often dance right on the edge of this uncanny zone. The robots, celebrity imitations, and eerily perfect settings seem so lifelike, yet something about them feels just off. Why do they do this? Why create these almost human figures that stir a sense of discomfort? Perhaps it's because they want to challenge our perception, to make us question what's real and what's artificially constructed. It's like they're playing with our minds, planting seeds of doubt about the very nature of reality. And here's where it gets truly intriguing. These elements might not just be random design choices, but deliberate symbols pointing to a larger cultural shift. As technology increasingly shapes our world, our identities and experiences are becoming more and more mediated by artificial constructs. Could theme parks be reflecting this shift, encouraging us to accept a reality that's more illusion than truth? The lines between what's real and what's manufactured are growing blurrier every day. And when we engage with these lifelike worlds, it's hard not to wonder, are we being prepared for a future where the distinction between the two is no longer clear? In recent years, artificial intelligence AI has gradually but steadily woven itself into the fabric of our daily lives, often in ways we hardly notice. It's no longer a distant concept from science fiction. It's quietly changing the world around us. Think about theme parks, facial recognition at the gates, AI-powered voice assistants in hotel rooms, and sophisticated algorithms that personalize your entire experience. At first glance, these innovations seem to make life easier, but they also raise a much deeper question: who's really in control? As you step into the park, you might not even realize it, but your emotions, preferences, and even your fear levels are being tracked and monitored. And while this might feel like a simple convenience, it could also be the beginning of a much bigger story, one where AI is not just serving us, but learning from us. What if the park is designed to know exactly how you're feeling, and it tailors the experience accordingly? Is this simply to enhance your visit? Or is there a deeper layer at play here? If AI can predict your behavior, it has the power to shape it. Imagine that the park's AI could sense your unease and subtly adjust the surroundings to make you feel more comfortable. Or perhaps it heightens the tension to amplify the thrill. It's not just about creating the perfect experience for you. It's about influencing the very choices you make, often without your awareness. This isn't just theoretical. AI is already shaping our decisions in ways we don't fully understand, from the products we buy to the media we consume. So, as we stand in awe of these AI-driven experiences, it's worth asking ourselves, are we in control of the experience? Or is the experience quietly controlling us? The rise of AI in fantasy worlds isn't just a technological breakthrough. It's a profound shift in how we interact with the world and how the world is learning to interact with us. In the world of theme parks, we are often swept away by the magic, the thrill, and the illusion of escape. But what if I told you that these curated experiences are not so different from the reality we live in every day? Theme parks are controlled environments, designed to entertain, guide, and even shape our perceptions without us realizing it. And it's not just in the parks. This same principle extends to the world outside. From the social media feeds we scroll through to the digital surveillance systems that quietly monitor us, we're constantly living in an environment that is carefully curated. Whether we're aware of it or not, take a moment to think about it. How often do we interact with systems that aren't entirely natural? Social media algorithms are crafted to catch our attention, leading us down paths of endless scrolling, endless consumption. But are we being entertained or are we being manipulated? The content we see is not random. It's designed to hold us captive, to keep us engaged, much like the rides in a theme park, where everything feels tailored to our every need. But here's the kicker beyond entertainment. These systems are studying us, our preferences, our behaviors. They're all being analyzed to predict and guide our actions. In the real world, we're not just consumers of content, we're part of the system itself. And then there's the silent presence of surveillance, whether it's our phones, our shopping habits, or even the places we visit. Every step we take is tracked, recorded, and used to influence our choices. Are we really in control of our reality? Or are we simply following a path laid out for us by unseen forces? Just like in the theme park, where we step into a world that's been crafted for us, we may be living in a reality that's been engineered. 2. It's a sobering thought. The boundaries between the world we experience and the world we escape to are not as clear as we think. And it raises an important question. Is the reality we live in any more authentic than the fantasy worlds we leave behind? Or are we all just walking through another illusion? As you ponder this, remember it's not just about what we see, but about what's being hidden, what's being shaped, and what we can reclaim for ourselves. I remember the moment it clicked. I was at a theme park, surrounded by joy, but feeling hollow. Everything around me was too perfect, too clean, and that's when it hit me. Perfection is the illusion. Life, in its truest form, is messy. Real truth is chaotic. Yet, we live in a world where systems are designed to sedate us, to keep us comfortably numb, to guide us down paths that offer no freedom, no true peace. We're taught to chase perfection, to shape our lives into something polished and pristine. But in doing so, we lose touch with what really matters, the imperfection of life, the vulnerability, the messiness, is where we truly grow. In the Bible, we are taught that forgiveness is the key to breaking this illusion. Jesus calls us to forgive, not just once, but 70 times 7, because forgiveness is liberation. It frees us from the hold of bitterness and anger, and in releasing those chains, we open ourselves to unconditional love, the kind that doesn't demand perfection, love that doesn't ask for a clean slate, but loves anyway. It's in this kind of love, this boundless, unconditioned love, that we find our true freedom. And when we learn to forgive, we find peace, even in the chaos. From a Buddhist perspective, the concept of anatta, non-self, takes this a step further. The ego, the self that clings to control and validation, is the true illusion. We're often so attached to our image, our desires, and our sense of perfection that we forget the truth. There is no permanent self. Buddhism teaches that true liberation comes from letting go of attachment to the ego, from embracing the impermanence of life. The more we cling to perfection, the more we suffer. But when we let go, when we embrace the fluidity of existence, we find peace in the ebb and flow of life's ups and downs. Psychology echoes this understanding. We chase happiness in all the wrong places, believing it resides in external things, the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect body. But happiness isn't something to attain, it's something to cultivate within. Our mind often leads us into perfectionistic thinking, but the truth is, happiness is found in self-compassion and acceptance. When we stop chasing after perfection and start accepting our flaws, we begin to experience true inner peace. To break the illusion, we must embrace imperfection. We must forgive ourselves and others, love unconditionally, and free ourselves from the ego. Through the wisdom of the Bible, Buddhism, and psychology, we realize that true peace doesn't come from controlling life or attaining perfection. It comes from letting go. When we release the need for control, we open ourselves to the beauty of the present moment. And it's in that space of acceptance that we find the peace we've been searching for all along. So, step outside the ride, look behind the curtain, and see the truth. The only way to find freedom is to break the illusion of perfection. As we come to the end of this journey, it's important to reflect on the deeper insights we've uncovered today. Just as theme parks craft experiences that manipulate our emotions and perceptions, The world around us is often shaped by forces that we don't even realize are controlling us. From the rise of artificial intelligence to the curated nature of our everyday interactions, it's easy to forget that much of what we experience is not as innocent or unintentional as it seems. But here's the insight as we challenge these illusions and strip away the layers of control. We can find freedom. Freedom comes not from perfection, but from embracing the messy, chaotic reality of life. The Bible teaches us that forgiveness, letting go of grudges and letting love guide us, can break the chains that hold us in these illusions. In Buddhist philosophy, we are reminded that attachment to our ego is the root of suffering, and true peace arises when we let go of the need to control every aspect of our lives. And even in psychology, we see that happiness isn't something to chase, it's something to cultivate from within. So, as you move forward from this video, I invite you to step outside the carefully constructed narratives of your world. Be mindful of the illusions, whether in theme parks or in life. And remember that the true freedom lies in embracing imperfection, letting go of control, and living in the present moment. Thank you for journeying with me through this exploration. If these thoughts resonated with you, consider subscribing to Shadowfile for more thought-provoking content, and share this message with someone who might benefit from it. Until next time, remember the only real magic in this life is the one we create for ourselves. Free from illusion, stay curious, stay free, and see you in the next video. Have you ever walked into a place and felt something you couldn't quite explain? Not fear, not anxiety, just a deep, strange sense that something was off. That's what people feel when they step into Denver International Airport. From the moment you arrive, there's an energy that lingers in the air, subtle, haunting. The first thing that greets you isn't a welcome sign or a cheerful sculpture. It's a 32-foot-tall blue horse with glowing red eyes. Locals call it Blucifer. It looks demonic. And tragically, it actually killed its sculptor before it was even finished. Yet, instead of removing it, they installed it prominently. And that's only the beginning. Inside, you're surrounded by massive murals that don't celebrate unity or travel. They depict war, destruction, and death. Children lie in coffins. Soldiers in gas masks march across burning cities. Doves, the universal symbol of peace, lie lifeless. You start to wonder, why would an international airport, a place where people arrive full of hope or anticipation, choose to display images that feel like they were taken from the end of the world? Is this just bold art, or is it a message? The deeper you look, the more you realize this might not be about art at all. It might be about influence. There's a psychological concept called unsettling design. It uses space, light, and imagery to manipulate emotion. We've seen this in theme parks, shopping malls, and even churches, each designed to create a specific feeling, to steer your mind in a certain direction. But in Denver, the goal doesn't seem to be comfort, it seems to be confusion, fear, and curiosity, and maybe that's the point. Because what if Denver International Airport is more than just a strange building? What if it's a kind of psychological test? A quiet experiment playing out in plain sight. The airport sees tens of millions of travelers every year. That makes it the perfect place to observe how people react. Who notices the strange murals, who questions them, who says nothing, and just walks on like a massive social laboratory. It gathers data not on what we do, but on what we see, feel, and ignore. That's when it hits you, this isn't just a creepy airport. This is a mirror, a reflection of how easily we accept the strange when it's presented with authority, a test of how often we dismiss the unsettling because we've been trained to say, it's probably nothing, but what if it is something? And what does that say about us? This isn't about believing in conspiracy theories. It's about becoming aware of how our environments shape us. It's about noticing when something feels off and having the courage to ask why, whether it's an airport, a shopping mall, or even the digital spaces we live in. The world around us is carefully crafted to influence what we think and how we feel. So next time you pass through a place that makes you pause for real. Look closer, ask questions, because maybe what makes you uncomfortable isn't accidental, maybe it's intentional, and maybe noticing it is the first step to waking up. If this spoke to you, share it. Comment below. What spaces have you walked through that didn't feel right? What art made you stop and question? Let's keep asking. Let's stay awake. Let's take a moment to ask ourselves something bold. Have you ever admired a celebrity so deeply that you felt like you truly knew them, only to realize later? Maybe you never really did. This brings us into the strange and fascinating world of the reptilian theory. Made famous by David Icke, he claimed that many of the world's most powerful leaders are not just corrupt or manipulative, but are actually shape-shifting reptilian beings, wearing human skin. It sounds absurd at first, like a plot ripped straight from a bad sci-fi novel, and yet, millions of people across the world are drawn to this idea. Why not because they believe in literal lizards, but because the metaphor rings true in a world where leaders feel cold, robotic, and unreachable. The reptilian narrative becomes a powerful way to express the deep mistrust so many of us feel. It gives shape to our discomfort. But here's where it gets even more interesting. What if the theory isn't just about politicians or secret societies? What if it's closer than we think? Think about celebrity culture, the people we idolize, follow, and adore: actors, influencers, musicians. We see their faces every day. We know their voices, their smiles, their stories, but we don't really know them, do we? What we see is a carefully crafted image, a brand, a persona, a digital mask. A version of a human being optimized to trigger emotions, drive engagement, and sell products. The real person, often hidden, distant, or entirely unknown. And that's where the real mask lives. In a way, these celebrity personas are not so different from the reptilian shapeshifters of Icke's theory, not because they're aliens, but because they've become avatars of influence, controlled not by lizard DNA, but by algorithms, marketing teams, and profit-driven agendas. It's no longer about whether the person is real, it's about whether the experience they give us is authentic. And that leads us to a strange, haunting question. If the celebrity you love turned out to be completely artificial, an AI, a deepfake, a scripted illusion, would you still feel the same? And maybe that's the deeper truth behind the reptilian theory. Not that our leaders are literal aliens, but that we've built a world where everything is designed to look human without necessarily being human. We fall in love with illusions. We trust projections. We give our hearts to images, not people. And in doing so, we risk losing touch with something essential: our ability to sense what's real. So here's my invitation to you. Let's not mock the theory. Let's ask why it resonates. Let's explore what it says about the world we live in and what it reveals about us. Have you ever followed someone online and felt inspired only to later feel betrayed? Have you ever confused charisma for character, fame for authenticity? If so, you're not alone. We're all navigating a digital world full of masks. And sometimes, the most dangerous ones are the ones that smile back at us. If this speaks to you, share your thoughts. Let's question together. Let's peel back the layers. Because maybe the real conspiracy isn't hidden underground or in another galaxy. Maybe it's right here on our screens, in our minds, in the stories we choose to believe. And maybe the only way to break free is to start seeing through the masks. Let's take a moment together, just you and me, to talk about something that's quietly reshaping the way we live, think, and even feel. Artificial intelligence. It's not just about self-driving cars or writing emails anymore. It's something much deeper. Today, AI is learning how to influence your emotions, from TikTok's endless scroll to the way ChatGPT responds to your questions. These systems are designed to hold your attention, and to do that, they have to know you. They learn what makes you smile, what makes you pause, and yes, what makes you afraid. And the more they learn, the better they become at shaping not just your behavior, but your sense of reality itself. Now imagine this. You're at a theme park. You walk into a ride called Alien Encounter. The lights go out. You hear a growl behind you. You feel something breathing down your neck. It's all fake. Right. But your heart races. Your body doesn't know it's pretend. That ride didn't scare you by showing you a monster. It scared you by making you feel one was near. And that's the lesson. Fear doesn't need facts. It just needs a trigger. Today, AI systems can replicate that same feeling only now. It's not in a ride. It's in your phone, in your feed, in the headlines that shout danger. And when fear is repeated every day, something dangerous happens. You start believing the world is unsafe, even when it's not. And here's the scary part. Once fear becomes part of your routine, you'll seek comfort. And where do you turn? Often, to the very systems that created the fear in the first place. This is how psychological control works. Not by force, but by emotion, by nudging, by slowly shifting how you see the world. And before you realize it, you're following the light they provide, without ever asking who turned off the lights in the first place. So let me ask you, have you ever felt it? That subtle pull, that shift in mood after scrolling through your feed, that moment when the world seemed darker than it did before. That wasn't random, that was design. And the more we become aware of it, the more power we take back, because awareness is freedom. It's not about deleting your apps or fearing the future, it's about seeing clearly. About asking the question, who benefits from my fear? And about stepping outside the loop, even if just for a moment, to breathe, to feel, and to be fully present again. If any part of this struck a chord with you, I invite you to share your thoughts. Have you ever noticed yourself reacting to something online in a way that changed your whole day? Let's talk about it in the comments, because the more we talk, the more we wake up. And in a world that's being shaped by invisible hands, staying awake is the most powerful thing we can do. Stay aware, stay grounded, and remember, you are more than what the algorithm sees. You see, fear is not truth. It's a performance, a convincing one. Yes, but still a stage, not reality, just like the haunted house at an amusement park. You know it's not real, but your body trembles anyway. Your mind knows the ghosts are fake, yet your heart races. That's the power of illusion. And in life, we build our own haunted houses filled with fears of not being enough, fears of being alone, fears of failure. We play our roles so well. Sometimes we forget they're just roles. It's easier to stay in the familiar pain than to face the terrifying unknown of freedom. But deep down, we all long to wake up. The Buddha said that ignorance is the root of suffering, not the world, not other people, but our inability to see clearly. We suffer because we hold tightly to what must change and resist what is. But freedom doesn't come from running away. It comes from stopping, breathing, and seeing things as they truly are. Not through the lens of ego, but with the quiet eyes of awareness. In letting go of the self we think we are, we become something far more whole, not separate from the world, but part of its silent dance. Jesus, too, offered us a radical path. Love your enemies, forgive them not once, but 70 times 7. Why? Because in forgiveness, you are set free, not because they deserve it, but because bitterness is a prison, and your heart was never meant to live behind bars. Love, the kind that doesn't ask to be earned, doesn't cling or control, that's the doorway. That's how heaven touches earth. And then psychology whispers to us what mystics have known all along until we make the unconscious conscious. It will rule us like a hidden master. We think we choose, but we're driven by old wounds, ancient fears, forgotten voices. Healing means shining a light inward, not to fix ourselves, but to know ourselves. And in knowing, we reclaim the power to change. So where do we begin? We begin with silence, with stillness, with breath. We begin by daring to pause in the storm of our lives and ask, what am I really running from? We practice forgiveness, not as a favor to others, but as a sacred act of liberation. We learn to sit with our feelings, to question our reactions, to observe our thoughts without becoming them. And we find people, real people, who walk beside us, not to lead us, but to remind us that we're not alone. Because the truth is, you don't need to escape to another world. You just need to wake up in this one. You don't need to become someone better. You just need to remember who you are beneath all the noise. Not the fear, not the ego, but the quiet. Eternal presence that has never been broken. That place within you that is already whole, already free. The illusion isn't the enemy. It's the teacher. It shows you where you still hold on, where you're still afraid to love, where you still believe you're not enough, but you are. Let go, breathe, forgive, wake up. You've always had the key. Now it's time to walk through the door. As we come to the end of this journey, I invite you to pause and breathe, to gently reflect on everything we've uncovered today, from ancient myths whispering fears into our souls, to modern-day algorithms quietly shaping our minds. We've witnessed how subtle yet powerful these illusions can be. Whether it's the haunting art at Denver Airport or the metaphorical masks worn by the celebrities we idolize, the world around us is carefully crafted, often designed to confuse, control, or simply distract. Yet, beneath all these revelations lies a profound truth. Fear itself is merely a shadow, a performance staged in the theater of our minds. As the Buddha taught us, our suffering arises not from reality, but from our inability to see it clearly. When we cling too tightly to illusions or resist life's natural flow, we unintentionally invite pain into our lives. Similarly, Jesus illuminated a different yet equally powerful path, one paved by love and forgiveness, reminding us that true freedom blossoms when we release bitterness, embracing compassion instead. And psychology, whispering gently in our ears, encourages us to bravely shine a light inward, to make conscious the unconscious forces shaping our choices. So, let me gently ask you, who truly benefits from your fear? Isn't it time to forgive, to let go, and rediscover that quiet, radiant strength deep within your heart? Remember, each moment lived with open eyes and an open heart is an act of liberation. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing this precious moment with me, for bravely stepping into these shadows. If today's reflections touch something within you, please consider subscribing to Shadowfile and share your own journey in the comments below. Let's continue waking up together, gently stepping forward into a life freed from illusions, guided by awareness, kindness, and love. Until next time, stay open, stay gentle, and always remember the freedom you've been searching for has been inside you all along. As we come to the end of this journey, remember that these conspiracies are more than just stories. They are mirrors reflecting the unseen forces shaping our world and our minds. From the subtle manipulations in the food we eat, to the emotional control woven into our experiences, and the quiet power of artificial intelligence steering our fears, it's clear that much of what we perceive as reality is carefully crafted. But awareness is the first step toward freedom. When we begin to see beyond the surface, question what we're told, and recognize the influences at play, we reclaim the power to choose our own path. The real conspiracy isn't just about hidden agendas, it's about awakening to our own consciousness and breaking free from the illusions that bind us. Thank you for walking this shadowed path with me. If this video stirred your curiosity or made you question what you thought you knew, share your thoughts below and join the conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to Shadow Files for more deep dives into the mysteries that shape our lives. Until next time, stay aware, stay curious, and remember, the truth is often hidden in the shadows, but it's always waiting to be found.